Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rupam Khanna. At 180, our aim is to gain new perspectives from world-class professional experts that combine science, statistics, and most importantly, humane values, so that we can then apply these tools in our own lives. No one has mastered or studied relationships in more details than Dr. John Gray.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Rishi, and we're honored, delighted, and thrilled to have today Dr. John Gray. John is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And that book ended up selling somewhere in the lines of 50 million copies. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. His Mars-Venus book series has forever changed the way men and women view their relationships. Dr. Gray is one of the authorities in the dynamics of male and female relationships and has written a whole series of books, over 20, on dating, relationships, marriage, and intimacy for 4 decades now.
Prior to that, John was a monk for about 9 years. He studied with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Side note, my dad was his dentist. And he brings in the perfect harmony of science and spirituality in everything he does. He is the ideal keynote for these times of lockdown, as statistically, divorces are going up during these times, and people are struggling with relationships and connection. Welcome, and thank you so much for your ever-evolving work.
Rupam, thank you so much. Yes, happy to be with you.
Thank you. Being a professional multitasking entrepreneur myself, what really stuck with me is when you say equality in relationships is a beautiful thing. But the problem is people have equated equality with sameness.
On the heels of that, let's start with our first question. In your book, Beyond Mars and Venus, you explain why being a man or woman in today's society is more nuanced and complex than ever. Social and economic shifts have caused the sexes to no longer be dependent on each other. The truth is, even though our roles have shifted, there are still fundamental differences between men and women. For our audience, first and foremost, who might not be familiar with the book entirely, could you please outline key takeaways from it?
From Men Are From Mars or from the new book, Beyond Mars and Venus?
It would be great to do both.
All right, I'll start with Men Are From Mars. And this was written 25 years ago, and when relationships were more traditional, where men were generally the primary providers and women were the primary homemakers. But our culture for thousands of years actually supported well-being for women if they're going to be primary homemakers and if men are going to be providers. Actually, culture helped us to, when it worked, it worked. It didn't always work, particularly when men couldn't make enough money to support their family. When men can't make enough money to support their family, they often become alcoholics. They can be aggressive. They're just not motivated. And that's a tragedy when our old system didn't work. But some of the primary takeaways of Men Are From Mars, let's focus on that, how more traditional couples could come together. Men go to their caves. This is something that is unique to men more so than women, which is if a man has a stressful day, he needs time to just forget all responsibilities. Now, in my new book, I talk about that in hormonal terms, which is we now know that when a man can take time to forget his problems, in a sense, be in his cave, he rebuilds his testosterone. Now, testosterone in men, we have to make, as a man, I have to make at least 10 times more than a woman in order to experience well-being. Women need to make 10 times more estrogen in order to experience well-being. When I wrote Men Are From Mars, I didn't understand hormones. I just knew that women's biggest complaint with men is they don't listen. So I wrote a book explaining to men, this is why women are not so happy with you, is you think you're good listeners, but you're not. If a woman is to raise her estrogen and experience intimacy, well-being, happiness, connection, which produces female hormones like estrogen and progesterone, she needs to share and not be interrupted with solutions. So men want to fix it. They want to solve the problem. It's like a fire. I got to put it out, as opposed to relax, ask more questions. So one of the practical takeaways in Men Are From Mars is realizing listen more and don't fix everything right away unless she's asking for it. So you might say things like, well, help me understand that better. What else? Tell me more. Or say something loving rather than give a solution. Say something like, you give so much to so many people. Let me give you a hug. See, these are supportive statements that actually make women feel seen and heard and loved.
So, Dr. Gray, I actually, those are amazing insights. I do not want us to get away from this piece about dating you were mentioning before. So if I take us back to that part, I'm very curious to see or hear. We see a new dating trend every few decades, from organic matchmaking to modern online dating. So what is the next trend? What does the future of online dating hold? If we can talk about that a little bit more.
The new dating, which is happening now online, is magnificent if you have dating skills. This means learning how to create connection, not depending on sex. So this means two basic things. The first thing, which is most important, you can't touch over the internet. You can see each other. You can talk to each other. What you can do as a woman is practice some of my dating skills. For example, don't let him talk more than you. See, women often ask a lot of questions because they know they would like him to ask questions of you. So, to start a conversation, women are great at asking questions. They interview us. And if you keep asking him questions, he'll just talk about himself and never bond with you. What you want to do is you can ask questions to start a conversation going a little bit. Then you want to interrupt and talk more. And then ask a question and interrupt and talk more. Not what your mother taught you. Now, when you do talk, you want to, because you're dating somebody you don't want to marry, okay, you want to free your brain of the people pleaser mentality. Women are conditioned to be people pleasers. You're conditioned to put yourself to the side and be there for other people, right? This is what a good woman does. You're there for others. You're selfless. Actually, that's what a good man is. It's selfless and being there for you. But you train him to be there for himself by being selfless and by being what some people might call a people pleaser. If you came to my house as a guest, you'd go, oh, what a beautiful home you have. And you'd enjoy it. And I'd show, oh, there's a painting and this is a statue. And we did this wall coloring. I could do a whole tour of my house. I used to do it 25 years ago. I put a lot of work into making a beautiful place with my wife. Well, now if you came to my house and you wanted to buy it, your brain would operate differently. You would go into an automatic bias of what's wrong with this house. Is it really worth it? What are the water bills? Is there cracks in the foundation? Is the electric bill? How do you take care of this place? What does under the house look like? Do you have mold? We're going to do some tests here. How about the air conditioning vent? I mean, you actually, when you buy a house today, you pay people to come in and check it all out for you to see what's wrong with it. That's what your brain turns into when you go on a date with somebody that you're feeling could be good potential to get married. So stop looking for a soulmate and start using these new communication skills where, as a woman,
well, I was almost thinking these issues of unfulfillment and people pleasing and this pursuit of happiness mindset, of the many single stories that we hear today. I was wondering what's to blame, whether it's technology or how we were raised as a generation. What I actually hear after hearing you talk is that it's biology, and here is this toolkit that you should take in order to generate different skills that turn you away from being your authentic self that biology has produced as a woman to be a people pleaser and actually be something different in order to be successful in the dating world. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I agree with what you're hearing from me, but I also agree with what you're already thinking. Technology has a big role in all of this, and our culture has a big role in all of this. Keep in mind, the culture is developed by intelligent people. Okay, we got to where we are not by a bunch of stupid people. Religions, although for many people are outdated, for other people they're not. This is not stupid people. There's wisdom. But today it's changed. The world has changed dramatically in a positive way and in a negative way. In a positive way, as women, you have the freedom to be independent. You have the freedom to express what we might call traditional male qualities, purposefulness outside the home, changing the world, running a company, feeling completely self sufficient and independent. Wow, that's amazing. Men, on the other hand, have the opportunity to spend more time with their children. They have more opportunity to do things like go to the gym and work out. They have an opportunity to be more romantic, to love their partner, to experience a new level of intimacy, which men want, by the way. How do I find emotionally available man? They're just not emotionally available. Well, they're not women. And the problem in every relationship, and I've counseled thousands of people over the years and taught seminars to millions of people, bringing women on stage. Okay, what's the challenge? She says, well, my husband's not emotionally available. Then I work with her for a little while. She's not emotionally available. Women are aware there's emotions inside, but you can't move through them. You're waiting for a man to suddenly be all emotional and vulnerable and tender and loving, and then you'll feel safe to open up. But if a man becomes all emotional and tender and needs this, you get turned off. That he becomes like a child. You can't be sexually attracted to that. And then you become disgusted with it. And then you feel guilty for being disgusted with it because you wouldn't want somebody to be disgusted with your feelings. But it is disgusting. It
So
just
not let
evokes
it
those feelings.
so not let it go to that extreme. And I guess respect is the biggest thing in that. Also, I feel like creating moments is what it's all about, where you're maximizing the good moments together. And that's what would really help you thrive as well.
Oh, beautifully said, Rupam. These moments, I just want to say biologically, I'm going to take off on that a little bit differently than what you meant. But biologically, there's something that happens when a couple is physically intimate, they're mentally intimate, emotionally intimate. Then what happens is the intimacy through making love is literally a moment of making love. Making love. You generate more love when you make love. And many couples will never be able to make love because they don't have the communication skills where a woman feels I can fully undress mentally, undress emotionally, and then physically undress.